chat right there with the.
Hello and welcome. I am your host, the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully. I'd like to thank our sponsors at Procyon Partners. Procyon, one of the top 50 fastest growing companies in the nation. They specialize in employee benefits, wealth management, and retirement planning. President Sean Rabinowitz, proud supporter of our podcast network and everything we do. Green Street Trust International, owned and operated by Rennell Jump and UConn legendary men's basketball player Jake Voskuhl. They specialize in tax plans for businesses large or small. They will save you money or get you a big fat return on your taxes. To schedule your free strategic tax planning session today, go to www.greenstreettrust.com. Pete Finch and the Finch Law Firm is located in Bridgeport, Connecticut. If you've suffered any type of personal injury, slip and fall, car accident, your mother-in-law ran you over with her car, your wife got angry one night and decided to stab you, the Finch firm is for you. Pete has won legal battles all across the state of Connecticut. He will go to war to get every dollar you deserve in compensation. You just have to remember, in a pinch, call Finch or go to his website, thefinchfirm.com. Dynamic Human Performance is owned and operated by UConn legendary running back Andre Dixon. He trains boys and girls of all ages, all sports. He has a boot camp program 7 days a week, 6 a.m. You want to get in shape, you go to Andre. He has an athletic development program where he trains boys and girls in the sport of their choice from the ground up, helps them reach their full potential, be the best they can possibly be. Andre has sent boys and girls to college on scholarship for all different types of sports. To work with the best, he has a 5,000 square foot state-of-the-art facility in Hartford, Connecticut. Go to www.dynamichumanperformance.com. All right, and here we are for another episode of Broker Than You. He's right there. He's right there. We have the king of real estate in Erie, Pennsylvania.
That's my crown.
Mr. Laban Marsh, who has a fresh goatee.
Fresh.
Show off.
Yeah.
Yes.
Less gray.
The other fresh, Mr. Nedvonne Young, the entrepreneur extraordinaire, owner of FreshFold Laundry Company in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Great to see you guys.
Good to be with you.
To see you, sir.
Yeah, and we are going to talk about the tools that real estate investors and entrepreneurs should use and leverage to source deals, analyze opportunities, because access to information just isn't the advantage anymore. You have to know how to interpret it and apply it. So as we know, the tools don't make you wealthy. The decisions you make do. And we are separating the amateurs from the operators. So Laban, one of the tools in real estate that a lot of people rely on, and I have another follow-up question to this from something I watched yesterday, but Zillow. Is Zillow just for homeowners, or do you believe investors can find real opportunities from it?
You know, Zillow is interesting in and of itself and the way it's grown over the years, because it really did start off as an information platform, basically, and they've turned into essentially its own brokerage of sorts where they have ancillaries. In fact, we use a service within our local multiple listing service. It's called Showing Time. And it's great because I just, if I want to show a house, I go in, type in the address, it's all online. Well, recently I saw it come up and said Showing Time by Zillow. It's like, bro, you bought So,
Yep.
you know, it becomes this large conglomerate where they put their foot in the door to, wedge open the market. And now between Zillow and these large, corporations that started buying investment property because that's always been the cool thing to do. I know Trump recently, went ahead and tried to say, hey, no more corporations acquiring residential properties. And part of when I was selling mine, I took them from rentals to owner occupant properties, which I think is a good thing to do. But as far as, resources and Zillow being one of them, there was a point where I'm like, oh man, I love that these estimates are so high because one party is, absolutely like, how is this possible? And, one or the other, either the buyer's really happy because their estimate is well below market value, or it's way above it. And so if you lean too much on just data, I think that was great. And like we've talked about on boards, okay, there's all this information, but it's what's between the ears. Like, what professional do you have guiding you through utilizing these tools? Because the MLS still holds some vital information, but a lot of it is shared, with the internet and every single real estate webpage. So you still have to be the key holder to get people into a home because the information is out there. And then what does your expertise provide for clients as far as whether it's the experience, but especially staying relevant to the changes in the market. So I think obviously investors can and should use Zillow for information and things. But I think as soon as you start getting into like, help me find an agent, like we as agents then are paying for that service. And so that's where, are they just providing information, or are they trying to get your data so that they can dig further and offer different ancillary opportunities? But to answer the question, it is, worthwhile to seek out Zillow. Another thing, and we've talked about this before, when I'm doing valuations, I use the MLS, but I also use AI and just throwing out those prompts to see, hey, whether it's a certain area, and the more information you can give, the more accurate the information is going to come back to you, because it's all that data at the speed of sound, if you will. So,
Fresh, what were your thoughts?
I mean, I think Zillow is a great tool. Like he said, it's morphed into something bigger. I mean, it has the capability, correct me if I'm wrong, I know this would happen a while back, where it would suggest like real estate agents, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if they got to the point now where now the real estate agents actually work for Zillow. I don't know if it's that case. They still their own work for different brokerages, but it just suggested.
Yeah, because they're paying those agents are paying a premium fee for Zillow. And on the backside, from our agent's perspective, that has changed so much. They used to provide, and we did this for a while, where we would buy some of these leads. And I will say it was a very well-run machine, because what would happen if a lead came from Zillow, our agent we would have agents within a rotation. Say there's 12 agents who wanted to handle these leads. So the lead would go out to agent one, and if they're in a meeting or don't answer their phone, it's going to agent number 2 right now. So there is no, buyers aren't going to wait for somebody to call them back. They want somebody now. And so Zillow created a system where if you're not answering your phone, it's going to the next one in line, and you get docked. They're like, hey, this guy hasn't answered his phone on this one, on this one.
You're not going to get.
Lucas can see that on the back office. So if you're one of our agents now, and speaking more for the back office stuff, if you're one of our agents and you're saying, hey, I don't have enough leads, well, we can go in and say, Zillow tried to call you 7 different times and you never answered your phone. So as far as, and sometimes all that oversight can overwhelm you from even getting the job done if you're just trying to see who's making mistakes or whatever else. So it is a useful tool, but it just keeps growing and growing, both the capacity of what it can do, but also the pitfalls. If you're an agent trying to use them and you're not on top of your game, you will start getting left behind, which, again, from Zillow's perspective, they don't want to mess around with agents that aren't going to get the deal done. So,
and that's just that part of it. So Zillow actually has other tools. So they deal with they have I'm looking at, they have Zillow where it's real estate. I'm just looking at the apps. These are just apps you can put on your phone.
Right.
So you got the regular Zillow real estate and rentals. Then you have Zillow rentals, which is just rentals. And then you have a Zillow rental manager. So it can manage, it has a platform that can help you as a landlord and property management. It has systems in place that you can manage rentals, right? Probably you can accept payments, probably all of these things you could do that usually an app like this would be able to do. So you can list it, you can communicate with people, you can do all these things, a bunch of different applications. So yep, I'm looking at it, collect payments, draw up leases,
what they're doing
it does right for you.
And it's all that ancillary because like we've used Buildium for our property management, and I can't think of we're switching to, I can't remember the name of it. But like I'm sure Zillow's paying attention to all that, and they're like, if we can get the showing time, so we now have like the only way they can get into homes is through our showing time by Zillow. And if you don't want to hire property management, this is where it's frustrating for me as a broker, because as soon as you say that, it's like, okay, they're providing, like, are they a licensed broker though? Because in order to manage other people's property, you have to be a licensed broker in PA. So offering the resources and things like that, money collection, I guess to me, it's like, well, where does the liability fall then? If the tenant says, hey, I'm not getting my deposit back, who's the broker in charge that, works through this all, or if there's litigation? So I don't know how much Zillow has.
I think that's for landlord. I think that part is for land. I mean to cut you off. I think that part is for landlords. So it's just like if you're the landlord.
Well, but even then, you're saying that you own the property, because
you're the landlord.
When you offer, which I can see this happening, like somebody that has their own rentals uses Zillow rentals, and now they're like, well, hey, I got this account, I could manage yours for you. So it's like, okay, well, you can't, because unless you're a licensed broker, you can't manage other people's property, even though you have the tools and resources to run it through that system. So I think that's where, it's definitely worth exploring that. But from a licensed broker's perspective, it makes me wonder how much of unlicensed activity is going on under the premise of, well, Zillow's got me. And I just don't know what Zillow has for licensure.
I think you know what it is. For whatever there is, there are always going to be some people that are going to take what they believe is the cheaper route, which in many cases works out to be the more expensive route when it hits the fan. When everything is good, it's great, right? When you don't have any issues, when you don't have to get a tenant out, when you don't have to do these things. But if they're smart, Zillow would do this rental stuff. They probably also have a partnership where they can refer you to landlord tenant attorneys that can help you with stuff like that. It would just make sense. I could just see, I haven't opened the app, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's a referral for if you run into this. So you got tons of, like, it's a great tool of one of many that are out there that people don't know about, but I think it's definitely it's the one that's like top of mind. Like, I know other apps that people, I didn't use Zillow as much. I actually use the app. We use a lot more, like Redfin. I use Redfin a lot more back. That's why I used to use a lot more. And there's some other kind of competitors that I think even Zillow like bought out. Because I remember it used to be another app I used to use outside of Zillow. I think it was something, but I think Zillow brought them out, or who else is buying out a lot of apps, but on the commercial side is the same one that does homes. It's the one that's like homes.com, but it's
homes.com.
Oh, yes.
But it's the one that does the commercial stuff because it has the same symbol. What's the one for the commercial? You know what I'm talking about? I can't think of it.
With my tongue. Yeah, but I know what you're talking about. Yes.
You know what I'm talking about. So what happens is it's just like what Google did. Google got so big because they bought out all these developers that had this little thing that did this great thing, and they combined it to one. So they just keep. And then, as you mentioned earlier, Steve, it becomes a one-stop shop. So you're like, why would I have? You get tired of all these apps on your phone. It's like, why do I don't want 5 apps. Oh, I could do all of this in one. So that's what you do. So you go to do everything in one, and you just kind of work it from there. But Zillow's great too. But I think it's
But one of the things that we're talking about that is, you're going to sit in your underwear in your basement and search a lot of this. But the mistakes so many people make, especially as investors, and I have a specific case that I can talk a little bit about because some of it is public knowledge through minutes that you can look up. Call people, get on the phone, or go and visit the sewer authority, the water authority, the zoning board. Like, go ahead, be a person, especially if you're an investor, because like we have a situation on the sewer authority right now where we try to clean up our system because we only have so much capacity, which is true in a lot of areas, right, for the sewage. And we've talked a little bit about this with GIS, right, and finding where things are at. But we had a situation where a mobile home park sold in the last couple years for a substantial purchase price. The previous owner had received a notification from our sewer authority that they had deficiencies in their system. Now, it wasn't so bad that we had to file anything that would come up on a title search, meaning any liens or anything like that. It was just a notification that, hey, we've had reports that you have deficiencies, and if DEP gets involved, so this new buyer that owns the property that paid a lot of money for it is now being served notices from us that, hey, listen, this has been over 2 years. And unfortunately for you, the buyer and current owner, you didn't do your due diligence and call any of the local utilities, because had you, we would have said, hey, we issued a letter to that seller. And when you get into commercial property, I just ran into this. Somebody posted the other day. They ran into an agent that was selling a duplex and he didn't want to fill out a disclosure. Well, Pennsylvania law says you have to fill out a disclosure for residential property. Doesn't matter. Commercial is not the same. And so when it comes to a mobile home park, and there are like 120 homes in this, but when they move the mobile homes, a lot of times the tie into the sewer line gets absolutely just obliterated. And so they tend to be one of the higher malfunctioning systems within a sewer project. But that was one specific case where these guys are out of Jersey. Almost, some of these bigger investors come from out of town. They don't know the, aspects of our area. And for us, the waterways, we have Lake Erie, but then we also have
Ontario, Lake Ontario.
Well, no, to the south. Like if you're at a certain point in Erie, it either goes into the lake, so you can't take water out of the lake that doesn't go back in, and then the other water, Chesapeake, maybe. It might be the Chesapeake. So either way, like these are important things, because if your sewer becomes an issue and is downstream to Lake Erie, you wonder why they shut down Beach 6 for E. coli, because you have, malfunctioning systems. And so as an investor, you can use, the MLS, you can use the internet, you can use AI, but please make a phone call if you're out of town, but even better, go in and talk to the executive director of the sewer authority, of the water authority, of the zoning, and talk to them and tell them what you're planning on doing, and just say, are there any red flags? Like, does the current owner have any outstanding issues? Yeah, everybody just thinks, oh, it's a great deal, a good price, and they buy it without doing their due diligence, and it's like, I think now these people are going to have some, like your point, Fresh, you're going to have so much money on the back end that could put you out of operations, quite honestly. And especially if DEP gets involved, like they're not going to let you, they want you to fix it and fix it now. So, as much as the internet is available, all the information, we're in the information age, but there are times you need to go and get it from the horse's mouth, because even the internet has been known to be wrong before. That's all I wanted to point out about that.
All right, so I'm going to throw you a little bit of a curveball, Laban. I have been following the Corey Richens trial. She was arrested in Utah for poisoning her husband, allegedly, to death. She worked in real estate, and she was flipping houses.
Okay.
And they had a forensic accountant who was going over everything. She had 77 overdraft, non-sufficient fund transactions. And she became a real estate agent right around like 2019. I'm sorry. She purchased 5 homes, totaling over 2.2 million in 2021. She purchased 15 homes, totaling over 6.7 million. And she wasn't making a huge profit off of this, because when you flip houses, you're supposed to do it as fast as possible, correct?
You have carrying costs that will eat you up. And I don't care if you paid cash, you got utilities, you have taxes. Carry on.
Yeah. So she invested and got approval from several different banks and investors to purchase this mansion in 2022. And it was 3 days after her husband's death. It was $2.9 million. However, the mansion was decrepit. It was appraised by several people, and it was built on, I believe, like wetlands that they were going to need to get permits for. There were animals living in the house, and it was inhabitable at the time.
Uninhabitable, okay.
Uninhabitable. And it was going to take around $3 million to do renovations. Yet she went through with the purchase for $2.9 million. As soon as she bought it, she put it on the market, I believe, 10 days later. Yep. And she said, it's definitely out of my league, but the margins are so insane. I had to pick it up and then figure it out. And she said, help. And she was asking one of her investors. After she closed on the mansion, her net worth ended up being negative $1.6 million. And her husband had $2.2 million in life insurance policies. And she got $1.35 million.
Yeah, you see where this is going.
She spent it all within 3 months. However, she tried to sell the mansion without doing any renovations. And there were a few offers that were under clearly what she paid. And she was unable to sell it, and it ended up being foreclosed on. So my question is, why would you go through and buy this mansion that's on wetlands? And there was an addendum before the closing that basically said the seller is not responsible for any accrued costs for getting permits for the wetlands, for the animals in the house, for the renovations. You're taking all this on. Why would anyone do that?
Yeah, can I answer first and let you go? You can go deeper. And I want to do it
because when I heard this
quick answer,
I was very confused.
She's an idiot.
The quick answer is you wouldn't, right? A sound of it. You wouldn't. It didn't make any sense. This person was probably just influenced to do something, and they just made a very bad decision and was hoping that, you got some people who just hope for the best, like, oh, I'm going to do it, and I think it's going to work itself out.
Speculator.
That's the short answer.
Speculator, no.
You said do your due diligence,
right?
And it was done here.
Well, but clearly because she didn't do her due diligence at all. Especially if you make the offer or you buy it.
But all this was known before she closed on the house.
Well, that's why I say she's an idiot. She's just an idiot. And she thinks she's going to find somebody dumber than her. And unfortunately, I live in an area where we recently had a local township become a developer and buy $7.2 million worth of property in a pretty good area. But then they immediately spent money to raise the properties. Like, they were privately owned properties that once they acquired, they came off the tax roll. And then once they demolished the homes or the buildings, now they have land that they think they can develop. But now that they tore the buildings down, you have to get into stormwater management and all these other factors that are going to change the footprint of your development. My point is, they've spent $7.2 million. And in my opinion, they're not going to be able to find a developer that will spend $7.2 million for the raw land that they now have. So I don't know who was making those decisions.
But that's not something you would ever do. If you knew you had to put $3 million into renovating this house, into getting these permits, it's built on wetlands. They came and said this is uninhabitable.
Yeah, she's an idiot.
You're still buying it.
Yeah,
and then 10 days later you put it on the market.
Well, that part happens a lot. And this is the other thing that we've seen. Like, when you buy a property, the sale price becomes public knowledge. You can't stop it.
Right,
it is public knowledge. So what starts to happen is somebody's like, well, dude, you bought this for 2.9 10 days ago, and you're going to list it for $5 million and think I'm going to pay that? Like, if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. Now, you might fool one person dumber than you, but as soon as you said she was flipping properties and they weren't very profitable.
No.
Yeah.
She ended up in a lot of debt flipping properties with her real estate business. She would buy them at a much higher price. And it was talked about that you obviously want to get a property at the lowest price possible.
Buy low, sell high.
Put in as little work as you can to flip it.
Turn it as quick as possible.
She did this for 3 years and she fell massively into debt. She was transferring money from her husband's account into her account, and she managed the finances and he was unaware of that. And to close on this house, she had to get, this bank to give her this mortgage, but it was a mortgage where she had to pay like over $1 million in 1 year time. So and she took out certain loans where she was paying $1,000 to $2,000 a week. I can't remember the name of the loans that they were called.
She had a hard money loan.
But here,
yes, it was called a hard money loan.
She had a hard money loan with some. If you saying weekly, she had some crazy.
When the forensic account was on, yes, I'd never heard of that. What is it? Can you explain what a hard money loan is?
So a hard money loan is usually a high interest loan that a lot of people use. It's for a short amount of time.
Correct.
And little to no qualifications. Like, that's the beauty of the hard money.
They don't do any background
through the scrutiny that a typical bank would go through. Sorry, Fred.
And what you do is when you do that, you're putting up your money. You're putting up the property, and you're paying a high interest rate. The goal of using them is like you get quick access to capital.
Correct.
You can get in and out of a deal quickly, provided that you can. Usually the goal is to get everything improved, and something I'll mention. You want to get something. You want to buy distressed. That's usually what the goal is. You want to buy distressed, and if you want to kind of be cheesy, sell success, right? So that means after you rehabbed it, it's a successful rehab. It looks nice. You want to sell that. But what happens is, and what probably happened with her, she got the loan. It was for 6 to 9 months. And once you get past that threshold, let's just say the loan, it's like,
I'll tell you, it was six. She took one for $60,000 and she would have to pay back $87,000.
Yeah,
that was one of them.
Well, it usually would be $87,000 if she got past the 6 months.
Right.
Or past the whatever time frame. Because usually pay whatever the rate is. Let's just say the rate it's like 7
when I saw it, it was amazing. Yeah.
Or something like that, right? If it's 7 plus 3 points, so you're paying 10. And then if it goes 6 months, then
it goes higher.
Then it goes to like 15. It goes crazy.
Okay.
Right. So then that's how the numbers, it snowballs. But the goal is like, okay, I'm going to be able to, you anticipate, okay, my rehab should take me 4 months. So I got 2 months cushion. And then, then I should be able to rehab out. I should be able to refinance out. And normally you start the refinance process.
And that was the word they used, rehab.
She didn't. So she didn't do or she was unable, or she tried to, and she was unable to.
Correct.
So she got screwed because she was at least uninformed, didn't have good partners, or she was the lead and had the least knowledge and was just blowing people money. And that's what happened. So what happens as collateral, like anything else, the real estate became the collateral, So the person would say, okay, I'm going to take, if you don't pay me the money back, I'm just going to basically foreclose on you, just like the bank.
As long as you file.
I'm going to use the property. I'm going to sell it, or I'll rehab it myself, do it the right way and do it. Normally, hard money people, they have some knowledge about what they're giving you the money for. I would strongly, that's another strategy that you can use to make money. You know, like
you have to do it the right way, though.
You be the lender and not the borrower. So you can make really good money doing that. But I would strongly suggest that you have knowledge about whatever it is that you are lending for. Don't just lend for anything. Lend for things you have knowledge that you can come in, step in, and really take care of things if they needed to be taken care of.
But Laban, why do you think she was still able, like she continuously was able to get these hard money loans?
Yeah, I mean,
there were several of them.
Yeah, I think that's where, like Fresh says, if you're the lender there, you're kind of dumb. Like you need to find out. And a lot of times hard money doesn't get recorded. So and that's where if it doesn't get recorded, they have no repercussion. Like
is it through a bank or no?
No. It's usually private. They might that's where depending on how much depth the lender goes into with requirements from them, whether it's information, the collateral, like a lot of times they don't necessarily collateralize the house as much as they should, whether they just trust the borrower or whatever else. But yeah, I mean, and I think that's where flipping is better done in an environment where it's not necessarily a seller's market, where you would think that, but the question is, well, if it's a seller's market, how good of a deal could you have gotten? And what you need to, and the biggest mistake people makes is like Fresh is saying, you project it's going to take you 4 months and then it takes you 8 because you're not doing the work. You're not expertise like that. So you're hiring 7 or 8 subs. And now as soon as your plumbing or your framer is delayed, well, now your finish guys are delayed and they're already on another project. And that's how it goes from 4 months to 8 months and $30,000 in covering costs to $60,000. And what they are is they're speculators. They're not investors. That woman was a speculator. Just knowing that she got licensed in 2020 or 2021 already tells me
2019. I apologize. 2019. She got her master's.
Difference. It didn't matter.
No, and again, I even just the whole.
But that was her whole business. Was flipping houses.
Sell high. Yes. And again, you're trying when you flip homes. Unless it really makes sense. And I sold one recently where the people never lived in it was flipped. It was done so well, it was worth the money. But that's where you have to have competent people to understand. And clearly she was not competent. She's looking at the money. And then I also think about like when I flip homes, you think of flip as real quick. I think buy, fix it up, rent it out for a couple years so that it has that maturation period.
That's what they're talking about. You should have rented a lot of
them.
Because
if you buy it for $100,000 and you know it's worth $150 right now, sweet. Fix it up. And then in 5 years, after you've had somebody paying down those expenses for you and providing they take care of it as they should, now 5 years later, it's maybe worth $175. And it was worth $150 when you bought it. You've had people paying down your debt. So you had this much equity. But when you had tenant pay down the debt and now appreciation comes in, now you're building equity. So now when you go to sell it, you actually do have more profitability. And all you had to do is delay gratification. Wow. The problem is they think they can buy a $150,000 property for $100 and sell it in 10 days for $200. And people are like, I don't see $100,000 worth of improvement. And that's what a buyer, just is going to think. Like, you must have put 100,000 into it. It's like, no, I put 10, but I want 100 out of it.
So this is great. This is how this ties back in. So
our viewership spiked talking about the Corey Richards trial. That's hilarious.
I
don't even know who that is, but she's.
Yeah, I didn't know who it was either. But this ties in because on one of the tools we talk about realtors as strategic assets, right? So if you have a good realtor, like Laban's mentioning all of these things because he has knowledge. He's not just a realtor; he's also an investor. So he has deals under his belt, skin in the game. So that also ties into what's the difference between like a retail realtor or a broker and someone who is investor friendly. Him being an investor, he's more investor friendly. He understands like, as an investor, here are some things that you should know if you don't. right? You wouldn't advise someone if you're not going to advise someone who's like, all right, what's the end use of this? All right, this is an investment property for me. I want to have cash flow. I want this. I want to take advantage of appreciation. Based on what that person, when Laban interviews this investor who wants to bring him in, he's going to say, hey, based off of what you told me, what you want, then here's one strategy. You can, if you just need cash right now, you want to get cash sooner than later, then flipping it is something that you could do. If you just want a quick, 20, 30 grand, that's something you could do quickly. But if you want to take advantage of the tax advantages of then you want to hold on to it for a while. You can, you could hold on to it for a while, rent it out for a bit, let it mature some, take advantage of appreciation, do these things, and then you'll get residual, you get money, regular money coming in. And then in a few years, you could go ahead, refinance out, pull all your money out you put in, or you could sell it. You could refinance, pull all your money out, and then shortly thereafter sell it. Like, those are things that you could do. So those are strategies that a good real estate agent or broker that you have that use as an asset, a part of your team, can help you understand.
Well, and that's a great point, and segue into Meg and I owned, this was probably about 15 years ago now, we bought these two little homes. It's actually on Marsh Street because I said they're never going to name a street after me, so I'll buy what's available on that street. And at the time, we bought one for 55, the other for 72. That area is now worth 165 to 185. So buy low, sell high. I'm not selling, but when we refinanced those 13 years ago, it was actually 15 years ago on a 15-year note, really low interest rate. In 2021, it had been 13 years. So we owed literally like in the teens, 10, 15 grand. What we did, because rates were low and we were about to run out, yes, we'd have it paid off. But as an investor, leverage is good, right? I'm covering it with my rental income, whatever debt I have. So we decided to refinance, cash out refi. So what we did is we had the homes appraised that we bought for 55 and 75. And this is telling you too about the value. In 2021, the one home appraised for 115, the other for 120.
Right.
So I said to the bank, okay, based on those values, and I actually did a blanket loan. So they take those two values, combine them, right? So 100, what did I say, 115, 120. So that's 235. And what they did is they said, okay, I will give you, as the bank, we will give you up to 80% loan to value. So 235 times 80%, they would give me a loan for 188,000. Now, mind you,
200 grand. That's
right.
Great.
But listen, so we owed 10 on the one, 18 on the other. So that's 28 grand. So when the bank appraised them for 115 and 120, they said, okay, we'll give you a loan for 188. And of that 188 loan, 28 of it had to pay the existing two loans. Okay. So we refinanced. It's a 4.5 interest rate right now. And we started a new loan at 188,000. Today, those homes that appraised for 115 and 120 in 2021, they're 200? Both worth 165 to 180.
Okay.
That loan that we created in 2021 is now, it's about to adjust because it's a 5-year adjustable rate. Fresh, I still think of you every time I say commercial loss rate. So we probably owe, that was 6 years ago, we probably owe like 135, 140 on both homes now. And mind you, the payment is $1,400 a month and my rent is $2,250 for both of them.
But do this, Lay. So do this, and I don't even know. I don't remember us talking about this. And I'm assuming you did this. Speak to how you took that 180 and made more money with it.
All right, give me 1 second. Let me play the sponsor video.
Cliffhanger here.
Down south, we have Julius Williams, Jordan Harris, and the rest of the team of the Trench Mob. They train offensive and defensive linemen. They compete in 5v5 tournaments and college showcase camps all across the country. They have sent kids to schools like Florida, Florida State, Miami, Clemson, Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, just to name a few. They have sent the highest percentage of kids who work with them to Division I schools on scholarship. To work with the best, go to trenchmobfootball.com. Nedvonne Young runs the FreshFold Laundry Company in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, a high-end laundry service. You book online, put your laundry out in a clear plastic bag. They pick it up, wash, dry, and fold it for you in 48 hours. They also offer an expedited service if you need that as well. They have an online subscription model, weekly or bi-weekly, where you can get your laundry done that way. They offer deals for college students. So if you want your laundry done, you can do it in your own dorm. They have a pickup and now a delivery service. So you can have your laundry done without leaving the comfort of your own home or dorm room. To sign up, go to their website, my-freshfold.com.
Got it.
All right. Listen, I had to keep telling myself too to remind where we were at, but yeah, you got that down fresh there, Collie. So
yeah, speak to it. Tell them how you made.
Speaking of fresh, listen, dude, this is you're pulling off the Band-Aid, bro. So what my wife and I did, and that was actually May of 22, is when we refinanced. And the reason, unfortunately, I know that is we basically earmarked that. I said, I've been investing for 15 years, delaying gratification, not taking a penny from it. But since it's tax-free, right, it's my equity. I don't owe Uncle Sam anything from this. Let's do an addition to our house.
Oh, that's the cliffhanger. Oh, yeah. I remember you talking about this part.
So we start the addition September of 22. I use 123,000 of it to get the project started, because if you understand appraisals, if I show an appraiser drawings, and this is what we're going to do, they could be like my wife, that they got to see it. They got to physically walk through it. So I said, hey, we just came into some money. Let's start our addition on this money. Okay. So I fronted that renovation, 123,000. And then as we get going, I ended up getting fleeced a substantial amount from said contractor. And honestly and sadly, we were boys. He knew about what we were doing and why we were doing it. And he literally just looked at it like, bank is open. And that's where I went wrong. I lacked my due diligence because I leaned on a friend as a contractor. And so I'm not saying we lost it all. We have, an addition done, but it cost a friendship and over six figures. And
well, I mean, is that something where you could have used the court system? And
yeah, I could have, but you can't. You know what I mean? What do you get out of a turnip? You know what I mean? Yeah, so I think that's where. But here's the thing that I want to point out, and my brother Levi pointed it out because I've always said it. Like, we refinanced cash flowing assets to put it into a liability, because if what you are buying or putting your money in doesn't put money in your pocket, it is a liability. Your personal residence is a liability. Unless you live in a duplex or a triplex or a fourplex and somebody else is paying you, your personal residence, whether you have a loan or not, is a liability per the terms of Robert Kiyosaki, because if it isn't putting money in your pocket, it is a liability. And that, to me, is what I live by economics-wise. So it might be considered an asset, and you might have a bunch of equity. But if it does not cash flow, you actually have a liability. So I took a cash flowing asset, and we still have the two homes. We rent them out. They cash flow. They make sense. The debt service of the new loan is being covered by the cash flowing asset, whereas my addition accommodated us for the needs of our family. And I wish it would not have gone as sideways as it did. But Fresh, thank you for ripping open that wound that we just discussed last week. But that was it. Like, I'm like, hey, I've waited 15 years. We now have a need for our personal residence to expand. We leveraged our investments to do that in a very educational way, still own them. It's a great way to go. But I also did liquidate some of my others just because the rates or whatever else. So as an investor, instead of a speculator, you don't know what the future holds, but I knew I could see the writing on the wall. as the market we're going. And that's like the Marsh Street homes are going to keep going up in value. So I knew to hold on to those. They cash flow real well, never have trouble finding a tenant. And so when I looked at liquidating some of my portfolio, what's the problem child? What gives you the most issues? What causes the most expenses? Like what needs the most improvement? And you have to be evaluating that. And I got to the point with all I was doing, the 8 different entities and, 50 plus doors. I'm like, I don't have much clarity because I have so many irons in the fire. And that's where my business coaches really helped me to refine that. But I'm glad I went at it like a banshee for the first 20 years and bought up as much stuff as I could.
You did, yes.
But when you do that, dude, you have to be careful because if you're not properly managing it, it can eat you alive. Like, what's her name?
Corey.
Give your name again.
Yes, Corey Richards.
Corey.
That's that. Well, that's what I wanted.
California? It sounds
no,
like
it's in Utah. It's in Utah.
Oh, Utah.
Fresh. That's what I wanted to ask you. The other thing that she did was transferring funds from her business account to personal account. They were co-mingled. And I mean, a lot of the transactions didn't clear her bank and her business account. And she was, quote, perpetually in the hole, according to the forensic accountant. She had
this just keeps getting better.
236 overdrafts, adding up to around $360,000.
That's bank fraud, first of all. It's bank fraud.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I'm saying.
I would say one of the things you just mentioned, a key term, you commingle funds. You want to.
Is that normal?
No, you shouldn't. Well, it is. It's a yes and a no thing. It is normal. It should not be done though. So you shouldn't do it. People do it because they lack knowledge and they don't really understand the consequences of it. So let me give you a little quick thing to understand what the consequences are. You have a business, ABC Realty. Let's say her company was ABC Realty. ABC Realty and everything that they own thereof is on ABC Realty. And if somebody sues ABC Realty and it's set up properly, then ABC Realty takes the hit. What she did when she commingled funds, she opened the door to her personal
pierce the veil.
ABC Realty. She pierced the veil. Even if she had it in a state like Wyoming or Delaware, or Nevada, where it's very hard and almost, very hard to pierce the corporate veil. So she just said, hey, she opened it. And once she did that, she screwed herself. So she could have that law, the 300,000 could have taken a hit off of
an entity,
off of those things. And again, and just understand this. We all make mistakes. I've been guilty of earlier on commingling because I didn't know, and then I was like, all right, I can move it around. What I didn't know before I knew that, once it was like, hey, I'm like, I'm set up in Wyoming.
Is it illegal to do that? Because you're paying yourself if it's your business, right?
Well, it's not necessarily illegal. It's just a bad business practice that screws you over if you don't understand, right? So you set up entities in a way to protect yourself and to separate personal from business. But when you commingle, you intertwine the two, and now you're on the hook personally.
Well, and Steve, it made me think you're gonna get flagged again for saying something like that because commingling is not good. And if you're ever in with it, like
no,
you don't want to ever mention it. But what you can't. No, but what you can do is you can personally make a capital contribution to the entity, right?
Yes.
If the entity is a little bit thin, you can say, hey, I'm boosting the account with a $20,000 capital contribution. And the reason you want to do that is, and I don't want to get into accounting. My accountant has been texting me because we're filing different stuff now. But it's one of those things where you really want to do it because if or when that company, an entity gets into a better financial position, you can be reimbursed for that capital contribution and not pay tax as if it's income, right? Because it was a capital contribution. But if you just throw 20 grand in there and now a year later you pull 20 grand out of that entity into your personal account, it's like, where's this coming from? Like, why are you not, the IRS looks at it like, why are you, that's income. Why are you not paying tax on
Well,
that?
this is the other question I wanted to ask you, because she misrepresented on her tax returns about the amount of money that her business was making. But she represented it as substantially higher when she was in debt. And the attorney, the attorney's question.
She did tax fraud. I mean to cut. She did tax fraud. She was trying to get more money back on a return.
Well, no, that's what they were saying. They were saying that if you report yourself as being successful and making more money, you're going to pay more in taxes. Where if she had reported the reality and less money, she would have gotten tax breaks. She wouldn't have had to pay taxes.
Not necessarily.
My question is, why would you want to inflate what you're making as a business?
Okay, I can answer that. So the reason why someone would want to inflate, because if you're doing certain things in a business, the way that a business owner works is not different from a W-2, like a 1099 or opposed to a W-2 is. You get paid all the money first, you pay the taxes later. And you pay taxes on the difference between like minus your expenses, your business expenses and things of that nature. So let's just say if they, but
it's on you to report that. You report that yourself. You report, yes, I made this.
You report it, but you also want to support what you report. So if she says she made $300,000 and then she made $300,000 and then she say she had $200,000 worth of expenses, then she's only taxed on $100,000, right?
Right.
But so that's why you would do that. Now, I don't know if you're telling me that she reported that she made, and I don't know any account. She must have did her own taxes. I don't know any accountant.
She reported that she made like around $500,000, and the lawyers were questioning. Her own attorneys were asking the forensic accountant, why would someone in debt or someone who isn't making as much want to report a higher income? Because you're going to be in a higher tax bracket. That's what didn't make sense.
That's only if
qualifications.
That's only if she did not that's only if her expenses were low or similar to like someone who was a W-2. So like if she only paid, if her expenses and stuff were only 15%, then it doesn't make sense.
It didn't make sense. It wasn't reality.
Now, so again, as a business owner, I'm trying to make sure I got the most expenses as possible. Like what all my expenses are, they go in first, and then I'm taxed on whatever's left. So that's how you do it.
Because what happened was they're trying to say that she showed that she was profitable because then she was able to take out the following year. She took out more than $1 million. And
that's another reason too. So you see that parlay, I think,
which I don't understand.
She put the higher number so that when they say, "Can I see your tax returns?" It shows, I make $500,000. So they have certain metrics of, okay, you make $500,000 a year, we can give you a loan up to X amount based on your taxes. But what she did is
several different
tax. That's right. That's tax fraud too, right? She did not only bank fraud, but tax
I don't
fraud.
Understand. Like, do you, Laban, for someone in real estate to do this, is she doing it because she's thinking, okay, I have all these properties, maybe I can dig myself out of this, and I'm just going to keep borrowing?
You see, because as soon as you mention it's a flip,
she was a flipper, yes,
right. But so she doesn't have any assets. Do you know what I mean? Like
that's what they said. Her assets were,
But if she was buying and holding, then she would have equity in the future to lean on. But when you flip, you're hoping for immediate appreciation in value of the home, which is why you want to buy low and hope to sell high. And then you also have to find homes that have good bones, but ugly cosmetics. You know what I mean? You don't want to put lipstick on a pig. You want it to have good bones. When
that was actually used by one of the lawyers.
Can't put lipstick on a pig?
Yeah, because she bought, it was called the Midway Mansion, and she knew all the problems with it. and she still went through with the purchase. Now
Yeah,
she had to pay $50,000 down before which she had to borrow from someone to do it, but she still went through with this $2.9 million mansion. And I'm asking you, why the hell would you do that?
Well, you're getting it. So you're getting answers, right? You said she only had to put $15,000.
50.
She paid $50,000 before the purchase. That was
that's why. Like if you look at it in her mind, right? More than likely, it's like, okay, if you said it, so after rehab value, if it was all good, it would have been worth over $3-4 million. So you look at it, I get in this for 50. I'm gonna figure out how to get this to the point where I needed to be. But she didn't realize. So essentially,
she got the $2.9 million loan to buy the house. But she did this knowing everything that was wrong with it. It's built on wetlands. There's animals living in the house. It's uninhabitable.
Yeah, and it's uninhabitable because of all of the stuff. But you could have made
you're going to need permits.
She could have made it. You could improve it to make it inhabitable. It's not like you can't live on wetlands, but Laban mentioned it earlier. I think it's cut and dry. She was not she's not a true investor. She's a speculator. She didn't follow good investment practices and principles.
Due diligence,
which is what I saw. Due diligence is a major part of it. She didn't, in light of what the title of our show is, she did not use good tools, partnerships. She just was, I think,
dude, nobody's partnering with that, and that's where I get we talked about.
She was getting partners. That was the thing.
She had people who she had investors who were giving her money.
Yeah.
So this is like you said, she was just kind of like, it's like a scammer, man. It's like people.
That's what I'm saying. Do you think she legitimately was a scammer, or do you think she was inexperienced?
100%. I think she bit off more than she could. I think she was inexperienced, bit off more than she could chew. She thought that she could do something that was out of her realm possibility, like somebody.
And she admitted that.
You think that you like everybody look, we're football players. A lot of people felt like, oh, I have the ability to make it to the league, especially coming from high school to transferring to college. Then when you come to college, you go, dang, no, like the reality hits you. But sometimes the reality don't hit people. Sometimes they still think they're not the number one guy. They're not doing the production that people are doing to get to the league, and they still feel like they could do it. That's just not being, that's being what's the word? That's being
irresponsible.
It's delusional. That's being delusional.
But Laban, is there any instance, if you were in her situation, where you, knowing all that you know about the property, this mansion now, would you have ever gone through with that purchase?
No, dude. She got in an excavator and dug the hole substantially larger than what she first got into it. And again, it's like you can not dig yourself out of it. And now if we said she got it for 2.9 and as it sat, it was worth 5, that's never going to be like, that is the delusion that people are under. Listen, dude,
put it on the market right after.
Well, and if it was that good of a deal, somebody else would have done it. And now listen, I remember years ago, and I presented a opportunity to my wife, and her comment was, if this was that good of a deal, somebody else would have done it. Now listen, nobody else did it. I did the deal and it worked out, which is what boosted my confidence. I was like, maybe I do know in my evaluations and due diligence that I do know what I'm talking about. And then shortly thereafter, I ran into an appraiser and he said, hey, I saw you bought that 54 acres and, I was going to do the same thing. And it's like, all right, there are other people out there that might do this, but they don't have the wherewithal or, whatever to go get it. But most of the time, if it's been sitting a long time, you don't have any magic spell that you're going to change this, or unless there's something really unique that you do personally with large,
right.
You know what I mean? If you're an expert in a certain field where nobody else would have noticed this opportunity, okay. But I still want to know more. How long was it on the market? You know what I mean? Did it come down at all? Was it bank? There's just so many things that go into it. But as soon as you say she was flipping property, I get worried about people in a seller's market or in a shifting market. Because if you're in a seller's market, shifting to a buyer's market like we essentially are in, if you buy it for too high because it's a seller's market, and now the market shifts and you can't sell it for even what you have into it, like that's where, honestly, and I've seen this with investors that try to flip, and I'm telling you the best solution is find a tenant to absorb the majority, if not all of that cost, and then just wait a little while and pray that there is, future appreciation. But honestly, I think that's the thing is she's an idiot for trying to sell it without doing the actual work to position it more valuable.
I mean,
she's so many things
gave
wrong
up on
with her
it. Yeah.
Well,
And
she should have given up before she started is the problem.
it happened several times too, where she flipped houses and she'd end up $28 in the hole after flipping it.
But the next one's going to work.
$50,000 in the hole after flipping it. So she clearly wasn't good at doing it.
No, she
kept buying property.
Yes, kept digging herself. And then it's a lot of like these contractors that rob Peter to pay Paul. They're like, well, I can finish this job that I misbid if I get a deposit from the next one, and then I'll finish this job and go do the like. And that's kind of what happened to my contractor. He was doing a flip himself, saw that I was a bank available. So, and this is the other thing. If you hire a contractor, ask them what jobs they're on right now. Because if I would have had any inkling that he might steal from me, like I knew he was in the middle of a flip. I knew because we were friends that he wasn't like he needed to do a few more things and he didn't have the money to do it before he listed it. So then he used some of my money to finish his flip. And then what happens? He didn't get what he thought. So when he thought, I'm going to flip this and easily be able to pay back that money, well, now you didn't make as much. And so it's like, well, I'm going to wait to pay them, but I'm going to get mine. And that's how this all starts to unravel.
And snowballs, and then life happens and things like that.
And then you think the next deal is going to get you over that hump, but you still haven't fixed your lack of, your inability to bid properly or to get the work done in a timely fashion. And now that flip that you thought was going to take 3 months, it's now 9 months, and you are so desperate that now if any offer comes in, you have to take it. You can't even try to negotiate.
Well, like Nedvonne was saying, the hard loan she was taking out. All right, let me play this last one, and we'll finish up. Finally, we have James Whitfield of Luther James Insurance. For the last 3 years, James has dedicated himself to the art of financial services. He specializes in life insurance and insurance policies. He will save you money, make you a boatload of money, and do so tax-free. He also specializes in retirement planning because we know the stress that goes into thinking about retirement. How much am I going to need? For how long? Do we have enough? Because fear of the unknown is real. To contact James, go to www.lutherjamesinsurance.com. All right. So she basically did this because she wanted to obtain financial independence. So in both your guys' opinion, Nedvonne, I know you got to bounce. She was doing this because she wanted financial independence so she could get a divorce. But she kept falling deeper and deeper and deeper in the hole. And she just kept trying to dig herself out, you believe, and ended up making it worse? Or do you think that she really was trying to perpetuate fraud? I know you don't know about the case.
We don't. I would say I think she bit off more than she could chew. Outside, I don't know what the personal motivations behind whatever it was.
It was financial independence. She wanted to. Yeah.
If that's, and again, remember, you're looking at a case where people are going to say, we're not. So when you get to that point, it's about how can I get off, or how can I reduce what's going on?
Because you said a hard loan is tough,
right? So if that's where she is on in terms of being there. Now, people are going to say whatever they need to say, make whatever story need to be said. Just all of that aside, just looking at the deal, bad deal. She was doing bad business. It seems like from the jump, she was not doing good business. She was not well informed. She made bad decisions.
She was
and kept
impulsive,
making
it seems. Yeah.
And she didn't learn from these things and didn't do better in the next one. It's one thing to mess up the first one and then do a little bit better the next one, and then by the time you get to the third one, okay, I know I'm not making these mistakes.
Right.
I'm doing this. That does not seem like what happened. It seemed like what happened put her and whoever invested with her in a very bad position, and it just didn't work out. She made very bad decisions. That's plain and simple.
I apologize for throwing you guys a curveball with this one.
No, that's
I just
I gotta
watching
look
the
this up now.
trial. I've been watching the trial, and I wanted your opinions on it. Laban, I'll just give you the last word. She wanted financial independence so she could eventually get a divorce. Her husband was successful. He had a masonry business, and she signed a prenuptial agreement. So she got into real estate. She got her master's, started flipping houses. But from the start, after you look at the accounting, it seems like it was a disaster. She was commingling the business and personal accounts. She was overdrafting. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, and so I think, because I love, one of the best things about real estate is the ability to leverage.
Yeah.
And then you, just like anything else, you get these people who think it's the golden ticket.
I got a roll though.
So, all right, brother. Be well,
right.
Fresh. They think they have this golden ticket, and they can never put it all together to make it work out, whether it's the greed or just the speculation that the next one will get better. Because so often it's like, hey, get another job. Like, what other, when we talk about like side hustles or other ways to generate revenue, like,
she should have rented out some of these properties.
There's so many things you could have done. And it's like, did she have a full-time job and do this on the side? It sounds like
this was her full-time job. Yeah.
And so what happens is, yes, real estate is leverageable. It's just crazy to me because even our bank is, scrutinizes everything we do. So I never understand how these people, and if they're on hard money, they're in line.
I've never even heard of that. Yeah.
Hard money would be, and
it's not something a bank does, right?
No. And in fact, like the property we just sold, right, on Bondi, the refinance kicked in, or not the refinance, sorry, the rate change happened in January. But when we first bought it, it was a bank repossession for $140,000. We bought it, put about $10,000 in to fix up the most important items that needed it. And then we went to the bank and said, hey, we'd like to take 80% of the value. What would this appraise for? And in our head, I'm like, this would be worth at least 180, and so real quick, let me go to my calculator. If I said, I think it's worth 180,000 times 0.8 is 144. Now, if my hard money loan, and a lot of times hard money loan is going to be interest only, right? So I owe 140,000 at 10%, so I can make that payment. But as soon as I refinance it, as long as it's worth 180, I can get a loan for 144, pay off my hard money, still have $4,000 in the bank. But what happened was, okay, but listen, and that's where Fresh is saying, if that happens and in 2 months I can get out of the hard money, and now I go to a traditional bank at even 6%. But what happened was, I needed it to appraise for 180. Well, it appraised for 160. So now I can only get 128, which means I can't pay back my hard money. I can pay back 128, but I'm still going to owe him 12. And to Fresh's point, if I still owe him 12,000 and it's now month 6, 8, 9, or 12, you're paying maybe 20% instead of the 10% you agreed to, because you couldn't pay off the whole amount in that short period of time. Right. So that is where hard money is okay. If without a shadow of a doubt, the value will come in where you need it to. But
is it something you've ever used?
I did. Yeah. We used it with my father-in-law.
Oh, you did. Okay.
So yeah, and that's what happened. We borrowed 140,000, which was the entire purchase price, with the idea that, okay, it's all, I'm leveraging 140,000. We'll put 10 of ours in to fix it up. And even as a real estate professional, I'm like, this area, it's in Mill Creek, this should be worth at least 180 like tomorrow after all the renovations are done. And at the time, a appraiser needs comparable data. The market was trash at the time. So the comparable data, it made sense that it was only worth 140,000. Even if we bought it for 140 and put 10 in, it was still only worth 140 based on comparable data. So now I can't refinance out of the hard money because my value isn't where I speculated that it would be. So we rode that 10% interest only for another year, I think. A year later, the home finally was worth more. And so we refinanced it at the time, took the money from the bank, paid off the hard money, and now I'm in a more reasonable interest rate. And I have a tenant moving in who's paying down my debt service. So hard money can work. It just, there's a lot of speculation that goes into it. And if at any point that hard money, who is not a traditional bank, let's say something happens and they tell you, hey, I'll give you a hard money loan for 12 months. Now at 6 months, something happens, terrible accident. They now need that money. And they're like, hey, dude, it's hard. I need this money now. They call it back like a bank might. Well, if they can't go to a bank with good with good credit score and everything else, the bank might not loan them this hard money. And now the hard money, depending on what they filed, they can come after you for that entire amount right now, not 6 months later or 2 years later. So there's a lot of risk when you borrow money from anywhere. The difference from hard money is that you don't go through the scrutiny that a bank puts you through.
Yes, there's no background checks or anything. Yeah,
right. But there's a local guy who rents or he lends hard money to a lot of like the rental association, apartment association, and he will go, like, he wants to see the property you're buying. He will physically go to look at the property, and you tell him how much money you want, and he has enough expertise in the area to say, okay, that makes sense. If you can buy it at that price and you plan to put that much in, I agree that it'll be worth enough where we can both get our money back. But most banks or most hard money lenders, maybe they don't go, or they're not in that area, so they don't physically go to the property. And now you have somebody telling them what it's worth. They, as the hard money lender, don't do their due diligence. And now the people get the money and will never pay that hard money back. And now, yes, like Fresh said, they might have a note against that property and they can get that. But even that is a legal process that can take a while.
She just kept going deeper and deeper and deeper by doing it.
And a lot of times what it takes is hitting rock bottom and losing absolutely everything.
Well, you should have declared bankruptcy eventually.
And I don't even, there's certain times where
on the mansion.
That makes more sense. Yeah. And that's where, again, the challenge with bankruptcy, depending on if it's 7 or 11, I think are the two, or 13 and 11.
Chapter 11 and 7. Yeah.
Is it 7 or 13?
Anyway. I think, it depends on business or personal. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and one of those, it'll stay with you for like 7 or 8 years, and you won't be able to acquire anything,
which is catastrophic for a real estate agent.
Oh, and I mean, and for anybody, you can't. You just, So, it's really about doing your due diligence, being honest with people, and honestly being honest with yourself. Because you could tell she was just trying to convince herself this would work out, and then she's going to get the next one that'll recover that.
Right.
She just did not seek proper advisors, like the Proverbs say. Yeah.
Well, I encourage you to check out the case, because it's really, when I saw the real estate, and because everyone thinks they can flip houses. I mean, everyone thinks
easy, dude. You're a millionaire.
Everyone thinks it's easy. Everyone thinks it's easy and we'll make a lot of money. And, I was talking to Razul. They're having a meeting this week, I believe it's next week, the Husky Investment Group.
Oh,
because that's what they were doing is, flipping houses.
Okay.
And, Razul was talking about, they have a lot of cooks in the kitchen. Yeah. And a lot of people either just want to be straight investors. A lot of people want to be involved with the process, and they're buying properties mainly in Connecticut. So it's kind of frustrating. It sounded great when it first started. They were working together with like 10 different people. But, now everyone's kind of doing their own little thing, and some people want more involvement than others. Yeah. And I said that they should Razul should talk to you.
And honestly, it's interesting.
Some guidance.
Well, and I think partnerships are great. But like I said, my contractor was a part of my partnership, and we spent the last 2 years liquidating our assets so that I could be done with that entity because it wasn't a good fit.
It didn't make
after
sense, right.
18 years in business too. And I think that's what starts to happen is when we first started that entity, there were 5 guys. I was the only licensed broker.
Right.
When we finished everything out, 3 of us were licensed agents, and the 4th partner's wife was an agent. So of the 5 of us,
So
4
you all
had
were
licensed agents within the business. And part of it was because it's like, well, if Laban could do it, he's not real smart. Anybody must be able to.
right.
At least that's what I
So
thought.
they all wanted to be involved.
Yeah, and I think that's where, investment does require proper delegation. And I think if you just work at it from numbers and titles versus names and personalities, it's a lot easier. It's like, this is what needs done. Who's going to go do it? And what's the form of compensation for doing that? So that's where it's like, we brought on a contractor because it's like, hey, okay, here's the thing. You are 1/5 of this entity. So if we need a new roof, you're going to bid the roof job. And if it's $15,000, $3,000 comes from you,
Right.
from each of us. And so we're trusting that you're bidding the job as you would to any other client, a repeat customer especially. And if you're saying it would usually cost 18, but you're going to charge us 15 because we are him, and that you're 20% of that portion, then it's very easy. Like, you're going to get paid 15 grand, and of that 15, 3 of it's yours. So we're going to write you a check for 12 to your roofing company. You don't have to contribute the 3. The 3 is coming from the 4 of us. So it's still math, right? And again, let's say if that contractor who's a business partner says, you know what, I don't have time to do that roof. Like, I'm doing too many more profitable things. It's like, okay, then we might have to pay $16,000 or call it $18,000 for this guy. But now you're going to contribute X amount because that's your portion as a partnership, whatever reflects your percentage of ownership. So you can make businesses work within friendships. But as soon as it's like, hey, I'm driving to every single showing and I'm not being compensated, but we would, be if an agent did this for us, they'd be charging us $50 each showing. So, and that's when you start to get resentment and bitterness because I'm doing all the work and they're making all the money.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens in every single business, which is why you want to communicate. You might hurt feelings, but it's like, is it wrong? Is what I'm saying wrong, or do I justify feeling this way based on operations? And so there are going to be tough conversations, but as long as, you know what I mean, these are trustworthy people and the numbers make sense, it can work. But if you've got a contractor saying it's 15 and it only costs him 12, you know what I mean? Like, you can skew numbers
of course
pretty
you can.
easily and make people feel pretty good about what you're doing. So,
well, check out the case.
I will.
Corey with a K, Kouri.
Kouri. Well, that's part of the problem. God,
and the last name is Richens. Richens. She's on trial right now for.
I wonder if Richens is that a past text or past
poisoning your husband?
No, I'm just saying, like, she was rich, but now she's Richens. Like, she ain't got any of it.
No, I mean she did get the life insurance policy, but that's a whole.
Which she blew. Yeah,
which
great.
She blew. Yes.
Blew it.
Not on renovating the house either.
See, and that's the other thing, right? That's the other thing because
she could have done something
when one of my former partners was out and started crying wolf, he was still acquiring property and doing so, complaining about not having money, but then you had money, just reallocated it in a way that you knew was dumb, but that was your decision, and you gotta sleep in the bed
if you see it, it's amazing how she spent the insurance money within like 6 months, $1.3 million. All right, so
and nothing productive. Nothing productive. They wouldn't spend it on something that makes more money from them. They do. I
can't remember. I gotta go back and look. But check it out. Laban Marsh, King of Real Estate, Erie, Pennsylvania.
Hey, and real quick before you sign off, I just want to say just a quick to our brothers of Yukon, major sympathy to our good friend CJ Hessel and his family and the challenges right now. He's a brother that, just took the wrong route from our perspective, and I'm praying for him and his family and all who have been affected by that tragedy. I mean, that dude lit up a room. He Man. So just keep them in your thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, we will. He was one of a kind. The big personality, charismatic, and it's a tough loss for everyone.
Yeah.
So just remember, life gives you lemons. Don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges, throw them back at life.